In 2014, BSI launched a new online information solution providing standards and regulatory information called Compliance Navigator. The solution was developed specifically for the medical devices industry. Rather than provide a full presentation or demonstration for Compliance Navigator, Adam James of Smart Surgical has joined us this afternoon to tell us a little bit about himself and about Smart Surgical and how standards and regulatory information is used within his organisation.
As Gino briefly mentioned, I'm here really just to give you a general summary of who we are, which is Smart Surgical, and to give you, I guess, a brief insight into what we feel the benefits have been of implementing Compliance Navigator sort of over the last 14 months. So Smart Surgical was co-founded by myself and a colleague of mine, Omar Aziz, and the company really is designed and set up to develop a range of technologies to focus on the sort of surgical device space within the UK, focusing specifically on keyhole surgery. Sort of within the organization, again, being a startup company, you know, we are fairly lean and mean, but a number of our sort of key personnel sort of use standards on a week-to-week basis. And of course, we use standards with a number of key external suppliers who partner with us on developing these technologies. So it's important that we sort of have a platform where we can readily access standards, the relevant standards and the standards that are up to date, and equally discuss any changes sort of with our partners, because often one thing that we've found is working with sort of external agencies, whether it be manufacturers or design consultancies, often, you know, they're working off a hard copy of the standard, which is sort of out of date. And by sort of deploying Compliance Navigator, we've been able to ensure that we're effectively all on the same page and have the relevant up-to-date information. And if we look at sort of the benefits from, you know, from our point of view, again, you know, what's critical to us as a business is that, you know, we aim to try to get it right sort of first time. You know, we don't have the luxury of sort of working off old standards to find out later, you know, during our CE mark process that, you know, we've been using out-of-date standards and effectively have to go through an entire process of sort of remanufacturing a component or doing further testing. So for us, you know, it's reduced time, certainly in sort of navigating the standards. It's certainly made them easier to access. And of course, linking across standards has been a lot faster. Whereas in the past, what we've often found sort of using hard copies is that sometimes you sort of understand that you'd have to refer to an additional standard, but you'd often refer to it at some other point in time, which for us, we would sort of never get to because we sort of move on to sort of other objectives. But within Compliance Navigator, we're able to go to that standard sort of instantaneously through the links that are embedded. Speed, so from our perspective, it's important that we're able to identify all of the key standards that are relevant to our device. And the device that we're developing, you know, there are three components to it. So there's sort of a control unit that's a bit like a games console. There's a disposable needle, and there's some software. So it's important for us that we identify all the critical standards associated to each part of the device as soon as possible so that we can carry on and sort of move into the development process with the correct standards in alignment. Another one that I found sort of particularly interesting is sort of personnel compliance. So before sort of deploying Compliance Navigator, it was often a real chore to get our engineers to sort of read standards, sort of download the standards and go through them. But, you know, whether it's just sort of the ease of the interface, you know, one thing that we have found is that, you know, the engineers do sort of key in and step into the standards through Compliance Navigator more readily than as opposed to sort of turning to sort of a hard copy that's on their desktop. And this, again, sort of has filtered sort of right across our team, you know, whether it be sort of our electronics engineer or our software engineer, you know, they found it sort of a lot more palatable to sort of digest and sort of step through the standards sort of in this sort of current format that it's built within Compliance Navigator. And then the other big thing for us is that it's effectively an early warning system. So again, for us to to be working on the wrong standard or standards that's about to change, it has a big impact. For us to lose a month or two in terms of development time is quite critical, in terms of getting our technology right in a position where we can deliver it into the market. So we don't have the luxury of making sort of too many errors. And that's been a real feature with Compliance Navigator, is that you do get early warnings that is posted straight through to you or our RA officer as to when standards are under review and they're about to change. And then equally, when the changes are sort of affected, then you're able to sort of go in and quickly review the standard and see where the changes are, whether it's been a significant change or whether it's been a minor change, and how that might sort of affect the work that you do sort of going forward.